slippery. Turn it off. So this is the well. It's a drilled well, 6-inch with a metal casing, and I pulled the. So the problem with the well is that the water had been running a little bit dirty, so it's just a little tinge of yellow, and so I had a water test done, and it failed the total coliform test, but it passed the tested negative for E. coli. So there's no poop down in the well, but it's just got some different types of bacteria that fall into that total coliform, which a lot of wells do and people drink out of them. A healthy person can handle that type of thing to a degree. But I wanted to shock the well, so I'm pouring bleach down the well, and I opened the well up. It was really hard to get into it. You can see those flanges there. There's a flange down there. So the heads of those bolts are completely rusted. So I removed those with an angle grinder, and then I pulled the entire well pump out. I wanted to know how far down, I wanted to know how deep this well is and where the well pump is suspended within that reservoir. So I haven't measured it yet. Well, the first thing I measured was how much black poly line was going down there. It's 185 feet. So that means that this well pump is hanging 185 feet from the opening of that well. The placement of the well pump is specific to how deep the well is and how deep the surface of the water is. The surface of the water is 28 and a half feet from the top of that well there, not the top of the ground, but the top of the actual drilled hole. And that is once this well's been sitting. So I haven't been here in a week or two. So this well is at its level. It's not been drained down, and it hasn't recovered yet. So I haven't measured the distance yet. But this group of trees down here, the last white pine, is how deep the well is. That's probably 300 feet or so. It could be more than 300 feet. All the way down there. So that is the depth of the well, and for that I just took an adjustable wrench, tied a string onto it, had a 400-foot long string, and just kept lowering it down in there until it hit the bottom. It just kept going and going and going, so I think this well's around 300 feet. My dad's well, which is in a similar, he's close by, his well is 175 feet deep. I don't know where his well pump is hanging in that mix. So now that I have this information, 28 feet down to the water, 300-ish feet to the bottom, I need to measure this distance. And then the well pump is hanging about 185 feet down. So I want to figure out, is that the right placement? Because I may need to shorten it, I may need to make it longer, I don't know. Also, I need to replace the top of that well, the cap that goes on that casing. It was in bad condition. About 16 feet down, so this is the end of the top of the black poly. That's where it comes out of the casing at the cap on top of the casing. So if you follow that line, it's this one right here. I'm probably going to lose it myself. And then it comes around. So right here it starts to get dirty. And you can see it come around, and look how muddy this is. You probably saw that when I was pulling it out. And this is what I look like. It's just muddy looking. So my question is this mud or is this iron bacteria? Now I don't know what I'm talking about with a lot of this stuff, but I think it's mud. The reason I think it's mud is when my water ran dirty, I filled up a clear bottle, and then that clear bottle all of the redness in there settled out. That makes me think that it's dirt. It settled to the bottom. I think if it was iron bacteria, it would stay in suspension and it would just hang and it would just be dirty, murky water. But this all settled out and the water was clear once I let that bottle sit for a couple days. So what I think was going on, and sorry for all this, a lot of you might not be interested in this topic, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are and maybe battling with the same situation or just want to try to treat their well and maybe have some problems to solve. This is the cap to the well. The other half was down in the well. You saw I've just got it holding down that paper towel now. And then underneath that is this big rubber gasket. I don't know if you call it a gasket, but it's just, this fits tight to that casing, and then underneath are these pieces. So when you tighten the two together, this squishes out tight to the well casing and creates a seal. Well, they don't have, you know, this isn't sealed. There's another, this hole over here isn't sealed. This is, you can just get down in there, and then also on that part right here, that piece sticking up, that is just wide open. I think what was going on is this gutter to the house, and the gutter is open on the end there. All the water from this area is running over here to the well. And this casing, or whatever you call this, the concrete part, housing, whatever it is. Y'all straighten me out, I don't know, I'm not a well person. I think water is just running in here. This is just getting filled up with water. And then the dirt down in there is level with the top of that. So I think muddy water is just flowing down in this well. It's just getting groundwater in there. And so my solution will be gutters on the house. And then I'm going to dig out around this whole well, probably a foot out, a foot down, and I'm going to fill it in with gravel. And then I'm going to have a ditch that is dug out. And I'm also going to do some sort of light grading and shaping to encourage water to go elsewhere. And I may even do something to extend this up some. But I think, and then also you can see that crack there, that allowed, there were 2 toads living down in there and a bunch of grasshoppers and snails. So it was like a little ecosystem down in there. And so I got all that out. I sucked all those crickets out with the vacuum cleaner because I couldn't catch them. So that needs to be a more sanitary environment. Once I get the cap in there, I'm going to dig that dirt out all around it too and fill gravel all in down in there and just try to clean everything up. Once all this is done, also there's 2 quarts of bleach got dumped down it. I may dump some more. I was told to not dump more than a gallon, so I think I'm going to dump a gallon and really make sure I'm getting a good treatment. But before I go through the whole routine of cleaning the well out, I'm going to talk to somebody. I don't want to assume that I know what I'm doing, because I know I don't know what I'm doing. I want to tell them the different measurements that I took. I want to tell them the situation and get their advice. And I may end up just having someone come out here and just clean the well, pump it out. I've seen one of the solutions is they go down in there with brushes. There's other ones where they basically pressure wash the walls and then pump so much water down in there that the water just flies out. And they basically just clean it all out really good. And then probably, I would say they probably still shock it after that and put everything back together. So I don't know which direction I'm going to go, but that's where I'm kind of leaving off today. Definitely more talking than working. And that, I'm not sure how I'll edit this video together, but I just wanted to go ahead and document that now while I had the chance. This is the new well seal. I went to Lowe's and I bought one of these, and I bought a 6-inch well seal. Came back, it was too loose. Well, then I measured it 6 1/4 inches. I just figured it was a standard thing. So this is a 6 1/4 inch when I had to go back out to town to get that. The black poly line comes up through the center hole. This is for a vent. This is for the electrical wire that goes down to the pump. So the black poly line, a 1-inch line, comes up to that hole. And then this was the connection that it used to have. This is just a piece of plastic. So I got this stainless fitting, so now the poly line is going to come up through here. There will be hose clamps around that elbow. The hose clamps sit down on top of the cap. There's other ways to go about this, but I'm kind of going about this a less expensive way. Normally it would be hose clamps with a fitting, a nipple that comes up through here and an elbow, but I'm also needing to stay kind of tight down to the top of the seal here for where the black poly line currently exits the concrete that surrounds the casing. This right here will screw in like that. That is the vent. I can also, and I probably will, just to make sure if water ever got inside the little basin that all this is sitting down, and this is the concrete ring, I don't know what you really call it, but I can make this to where I stub this out a little higher, and I may do that, but that's just as simple as unscrewing it and extending that up later. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and get this onto the end of the black poly line and start lowering the well back, the pump back down into the well. Woo! That's probably good enough. There we go. I'll tighten these down once I get it in there, once I know which direction I need that pointing. Alright, ready to start lowering everything back in there.
Good to know that it's not old, isn't it?
Alright, hold that for a second.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to wipe and find.
What's going on there?
Pretty safe.
I don't know.
There you go.
Think it's good enough?
Mm-hmm. I think it's up on now. Right now.
Oh, that's just how it's silted in over time.
Go there anymore.
Say what on the price? Well, that's that with the well maintenance. Pulled the pump up, measured the depth of the pump, measured the depth of the surface of the water, level of the water. Treated the well with bleach and replaced the cap, the seal, as well as some of the small components, the elbow and whatnot. Hopefully everything's okay. Next step is I'm going to let the well sit some with the bleach. All the bleach has been run into the lines, into the house. I'm going to let that sit overnight, and then tomorrow I'm going to just start draining the well, pulling all the water out of it, and get the bleach out of it after it sits overnight. Then I will do a water test and see if it passes the water test. It should, as it has that 3/4 of a gallon of bleach has been dumped down it, cycling the water back through into the well, washing the well, the casing off with bleachy water from the well, just pulling it out the well and shooting it right back down in there, and then letting it sit. We'll see, and I will, of course, report back.